Concussions have become a very serious problem for players in the NFL. They are happening way more often than they ever have, and that's very bad for the sport. Ex-NFL stars are coming together and bringing lawsuits against the NFL because of the damages concussions have caused to their brain and to their life. Many of those ex-NFL players are reported to have chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, which is even worse for the NFL. The NFL is trying desperately to both help these players and defend themselves, but it's just not working out for them. What they are doing now, however, is preparing for the future and trying to come out with new products and procedures that'll decrease and hopefully cease concussions in the NFL. As I said, many NFL players have been diagnosed with CTE because of multiple concussions that they've had through their careers. As time goes on, CTE will practically be destroying these players' brains. Some of the early signs could be memory loss, functional difficulty, and impulsive behavior. Suicidal thoughts also accompany this, something that a few ex-players have admitted to having. Unfortunately, Junior Seau, a legendary linebacker for the San Diego Chargers, committed suicide, and many believe that he had CTE. Researchers had studied his brain after he passed away and found that CTE was very apparent. His case with CTE was one of the first that broke news headlines and brought fire against the NFL for one of the first times. Sports Illustrated came out with a very good article that talked about their advances in head trauma due to the NFL. In March 1997, they addressed how there are three grades they rank concussions. Grade 1 would be no conscious loss and symptoms lasting less than 15 minutes. Grade 2 is no conscious loss and symptoms lasting more than 15 minutes. Grade 3 is lost conscious. It set guidelines for who should and shouldn't return, and was also one of the first discoveries in this field. Going forward to May 2000, when the studies of concussions of ex-players began, there was a sample of 1,090 players, and of the sample studied, 60% had suffered at least one concussion, and 26% had suffered multiple concussions. Players that suffered at least one concussion were found to be more likely to experience neurological symptoms, such as numbness or tingling in extremities, and speech or hearing difficulties, than those who did not suffer a concussion. In September 2009, researchers at the University of Michigan Institute for Social Research published a poll that they took from retired players. Many of them said that the NFL was a very positive experience for most retired players. But the study also addresses that surveyed retirees that were ages 30 to 69 were 19 times more likely than the general population to obtain Alzheimer's, dementia, and other memory loss diseases. In September 2012, Boston University published a study where they studied 15 cases of CTE in retired players. They also said that many retired players had committed to donating their brains to them after they passed away, which made them think that the retired players knew they had something wrong with them. And then in July 2017, a study was put out that out of 111 players studied for CTE, 110 had it. They also talked about how a longer career could cause a more severe case. These types of reports are alarming to not only NFL players, but everyone who plays football everywhere. CTE could occur in anyone who has played football at any level and suffered a concussion, whether it's NFL, college, high school, or even Pee Wee football. Many current NFL players are just discovering the risk, and some are even contemplating retirement. Ben Roethlisberger, the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is probably the most notable player to talk about the issue in retirement recently. There have been younger players who have retired because of the risk of CTE, such as A.J. Tarpley, who retired at age 23 after playing 1 year in the league. As football progresses each year, there will always be concussions, but many people want to try and limit how many happen. One way they are trying to limit the damage that concussions are doing is by enforcing the concussion protocol. What the concussion protocol is a better way to evaluate a player after it looks like they could have suffered a concussion. After a play occurs and a player looks like as if they could have suffered a possible concussion, that player is immediately removed from the field. From then, a team doctor and neurological doctor evaluate the player and look at the play that caused this believed concussion. If the doctor suspects that the player had suffered a concussion, he'll be taken back to the locker room for further testing. This is called the Madden rule. If the player passes all tests and doesn't seem to have a concussion, they can go back out and finish the game, but will be monitored closely. However, if they do not pass a test, they will not be eligible for a return. Instead, they will be on a road to recovery. It starts with rest and progresses slowly, but depending on how doctors take it. They could go from rest to light exercises, then to strength training exercises, and then to limited practicing, and finally back to full practice with the team. However, some players don't agree with the concussion protocol, or don't agree that the concussion protocol is an effective way to treat concussions. Seattle Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin criticizes the NFL for its weak concussion protocol system, admitting that it is very easy to cheat your way through the test and get back on the playing field. Baldwin said, "Guys, we know the protocol, so if you are cognitively there somewhat, then you could cheat the system." Former safety Hazma Abdallah also criticized how the NFL handles the concussion protocol. Even though he played only one season under the time where they used the protocol. He went on a rant on Twitter in 2013 talking about how team doctors tried hiding that he had concussions. However, when he suffered those specific concussions, there was no protocol. When he suffered his fifth concussion when he played for the Kansas City Chiefs, he praised doctors for the work that they did. Hamza stated to the Players' Tribute, "When I was with the Chiefs and I suffered my fifth concussion, it was completely different. They went above and beyond to try to diagnose a concussion and to try and rehabilitate me. There was a protocol, different steps you had to complete, and benchmarks you had to reach before you could step back on the field. It wasn't just when you're good, you're good." So it's apparent the concussion protocol receives mixed feelings. And it may help detect concussions, but it won't prevent them. All people, whether players or fans of football, want a way to prevent and slow down concussions. And researchers already have some products in the works. One product that is being reinvented is the helmet. Helmets were made solely for protection of the exterior, but lack padding. So when hits happen, the player's head would bounce around inside the helmet. Some helmets, like the Riddle 360 and the Zenith X2, added cushioning, but did little to address the rotation of the head, which is the main cause of concussions. This padding, however, is a big step in the right way in addressing the trauma that is being caused to the head. The padding could decrease the risk of the head bouncing around, and when players hit helmet to helmet, a very gruesome hit to see. Another product that could help prevent further damage when a concussion occurs is Google Glass. What the Google Glass could do is predict the speed at which a player's head, or even other body parts, are hit and calculate the chances of trauma occurring. One representative said, since the user may wear the wearable computing device on the user's head, the wearable computing device may experience about the same acceleration experienced by the user's head. The threshold value may be a value of an acceleration above which of the user of the wearable computing device may sustain a concussion. Now, this technology seems a little too advanced for this time, but in the future, this seems like a product that could be useful and very helpful for football and even other sports around the world. In short, concussions are not going to be an easy thing to stop in such a physical sport such as football. But with these doctors and researchers working on these new and advanced procedures and products, there's hope for a better future. And if these new products work miraculously, perhaps they'll prevent someone from living with CTE and meeting their demise earlier than they should.